And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so welcome to the October Development Activities Meeting. And I'm going to hit the agenda. So want to welcome everyone. And the Southside Community Council is a registered community organization. And it is our responsibility as that community organization to work with developers or property owners when their projects meet a certain criteria and will have to go before the Planning, Historic Review, or Art Commission and the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And so I'm going to share how, before I wanted to say that we work closely with city planning throughout this process. And we work behind the scenes to get us to this point. And in the past, city planning has hosted these meetings so that we may interact with the project manager, property owner, and someone from city planning would look at the chat if there were any problems with the question, if any participant had problems. We are now hosting these meetings as a community council, and I think it may have to do with a lack of staff at city planning. I'm not sure. Thomas might be able to address that, but we've been doing this for maybe 2 years, and we feel pretty comfortable with unless there's a problem. So let's just hope that there are no problems here. So we have one project, 1111 East Carson Street, and then we'll talk about next steps. So there's one presenter. If you hopefully you have your slides. If not, I do have those. And we ask, I don't think there's anyone on audio call. So I think you're fine with presenting. Everyone can see what it is that you're presenting. There's a chat feature. So if anyone has a question, they can put it in the chat, but we're small enough that after your presentation, anyone can ask questions. You're in charge of your own mute button unless something happens and we have to mute you, but no one is a panelist, no one is attendee. We're all in the same, we're all the same today. And there is no question and answer tool for anyone to give technical assistance. And I'm not sure that anyone could give technical assistance if you needed it. So again, keep your fingers crossed that there aren't any problems. And we are recording this because we then post this on our Southside Community Council YouTube page so that people can refer to them if they're interested. And so our project is a storefront door replacement, 1111 East Carson Street. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Jean, do you want to share yours, or do you want me to just put your presentation up?
I don't know how to share, so if you can just put it up, that would be great.
Okay, welcome to our club here.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, let me.
Thank you, Barbara. And I'm also, while I am kind of my primary role will be taking notes for the staff report as a neighborhood planner, I do really want to just thank you again as Southside Community Council for your leadership in helping host these, and I'll help monitor the chat as that comes in addition to support you on that.
Okay, so this is page 1. And
yeah, I guess I can take it. This is Gene Gelblum speaking. So yeah, it is, as you mentioned, Barb, a replacement of a door that was damaged. So I thought I could start out by just introducing the property, a little bit of the history, go into the reason for this request, describe the work that is to be done, and then go through some of the supporting materials. Next slide. So the building is 1111 East Carson Street. My family bought the property in 1989. Have invested pretty significantly in it as the South Side grew and changed over the years. And when we bought the building, there was plywood on the windows, and I was able to do some renovations. There's now 2 apartments there that fully rented, and those were actually renovated with a lot of deference to historical, keeping the history intact. I actually used the trim, baseboard, transoms that were in the existing structure. The commercial space was operated as City Books from '89 till 2015. It did several years as Whiskey Moon. There was the tenant that Barb, you mentioned, that had to be evicted. And then the current tenant is Anthony Cuts, a barber shop that specializes in micropigmentation. And that is Anthony's second business. He has one in Beachview, so he is expanding, and look forward to having him up and running. The previous doors were destroyed by firefighters last year, about a year ago, in response to a fire next door. Those doors were unrepairable. They had been repaired, fixed, refinished, sort of nursed along for 30 years, and they were smashed and could not be repaired. So I am actually seeking, and I thought this was a zoning approval, so I'm seeking what I would call retroactive zoning and HRC approval for the replacement door, which was installed previously. And I'll go into the rationale for that in the next slide. So the doors, that are specified and installed offer improved appearance. With respect to the previous doors, they offer better ADA accessibility. They're more energy efficient, and they're much more maintainable and will look better in that environment over the years. I'm very familiar with how the original doors fared, and there's a lot of maintenance associated with that. The standard approval process that we're now going through was not initially followed because there was an urgent need. The doors were smashed. They were not lockable. It was winter. I had a tenant that was threatening lawsuits for lost business due to the condition of the doors. And there were limitations with respect to finding contractors that would fashion, original style wood doors at that time. So that is the reason the work was done, and I'm now seeking approval. Next slide. So a description of the project itself. I mean, the door is a replacement door. It is dark bronze aluminum. It's full glass insulated, 36-inch wide, 84 tall. There's a transom on top of the doorway. It provides additional light, and just looks better than filling that in with wood. The door will be hinged on the right side and have a closer lock. Basically, all the commercial hardware that's found on these types of doors. And the door was trimmed in wood casement and painted. Next slide. Okay, next slide. So the picture on the left is the door that was installed. The dimensions of that door are on the sketch next to that, fully dimensioned, and actually to scale as well. So pretty much reflects what I just verbally described. And then I think the last bit of supporting material is just a picture of the street front with the door. And that's all I have really in terms of the project. So any questions?
Our questions may or may not be helpful, but I see in this street view a door, and I'm assuming that's going up to the apartments. Was that similar? Was the door that was damaged, was that similar to the white door that's there?
No.
And okay.
Did Bob?
Mike Clark is with us now, and he's with the Southside Community Council. Bob, no one from the local review committee was able to attend tonight, and so my suggestion to Gene was that he present to us. I indicated that we're not as well versed in the historic district guidelines as Bob and his colleagues are, and that the presentation is necessary, but it's not going to be helpful to him in what he needs to do in order to present to the Historic Review Commission. I'll email Gene to give him Bob's email address so that he can meet with the local review committee, so that he can get guidance as to the new door meets the historic district guidelines, and what may possibly come up at the Historic Review Commission.
Yeah,
meeting.
I'd hate to mislead you on on what they're concerned with. I think architecturally, from our neighborhood, zoning, planning, development side, I don't have an issue with it myself, but they are more in tune with what as Barbara just said, our guidelines are for color, style, type, and stuff like that. And they're just they'll be the litmus test of what the HRC is going to probably ask of you. So I think it's better that we get them to meet with you as well. Yeah. And give you some feedback that's hopefully constructive and helpful for your.
No, I appreciate that. Just as some history, I'm familiar with some of the requirements. When I bought the building in '89, I applied for a street face grant. So that enabled me to purchase wooden windows for the second and third floors, a wooden door, which was previously metal with plywood. So I've invested heavily in maintaining the historic character of this building, not just the street face, but throughout the building. So I look forward to hearing the feedback from Bob and the LRC, and if there are no concerns from a pure zoning standpoint, that's great, and I'm happy to entertain future meetings with the HRC to understand the concerns they may have, and then to also offer my perspective and, you know, why I kind of went the way that I went on this. So,
I'll just add to it, though, just as a watch out for a moment, because I being an architect, I've helped a few other businesses along Carson with some issues. And one thing that the city has been hitting people up for is the accessibility from the sidewalk up to the door. I see it looks like it's maybe that old tile, but if it's not smooth and it doesn't have all the right slope to it, they've been asking for people to redo them. So
it's ramped. We
Yeah.
actually, and we put a coffee shop in back in like early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it is tile, but it's ramped.
Okay.
Yeah, we again invested heavily in the building and making it, just trying to keep it up to date and as well as maintain the, you know, the historical character. So yeah, you can't see it, but it is ramped right up, so you can wheel people or dollies or whatever right up that ramp.
Okay. Yeah, it's for accessibility. That's what it would be for. So
Sure.
Mike
Makes sense.
has a question.
Yeah, Mike McKay has a question.
Yeah, a quick follow-up to what Barb was leading with the the door to the right of the new front. Is there any plans to maybe paint that or make that look more like the rest of the storefront? It seems like it's an unfinished picture with that white door there.
Yeah, I would defer to my tenant who painted up to that door and didn't paint the door. I don't know. I think it should be painted. I'm happy to paint it. But I also am aware he's been going through a lot of challenges and, you know, having zoning meetings and signage questions. So, and I'm not involved in that. So I don't know why they chose to stop painting that. It's always sort of been consistent with the storefront color, and I think it does look kind of strange. So
Okay.
if you're saying you'd rather see that black, then I will just go down there with a can of black paint and match the rest of the wood trim color. But I don't want to. My concern would be somehow he only got approval for that to be painted the way it is. So it would seem odd to me that it would not be painted. So.
Okay. One other quick question, and maybe nobody knows the answer to this, and I'm not a fireman and I've never fought a fire, but does anybody know why they would have to break down that door to fight the fire over on the other side, the next building?
Yeah, I mean, they were probably just trying to be diligent and make sure it hadn't spread. It is a common wall. So I think they were checking. There was some water damage that actually seeped across through the wall or over the wall, but
Okay. And obviously nobody was there at the time to say, hey, I have a key, I'll open the door, you guys can come in.
no, yeah, they just smashed it in and left me hanging. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right, that's all I had. Other than there's a pool table in the back, we noticed. I don't know who's shooting pool back there, but
In that new space.
yeah. Pool
I saw
table
that.
And two barber chairs we noticed.
I saw that.
There's
gonna have
a
to go
cue
down
stick
there
in the
and-
window.
I'm gonna have to go get a haircut there pretty soon. It's looks like a happening place, but no, he's a really good guy, like a family guy, and I think he'll be a great addition to the South Side if he ever gets his occupancy permit. So
Mhm. So any other questions or comments?
Out of curiosity, Gene, do you have anything in your lease about about it being in a historic district. You point that out specifically just so you draw attention to it, and that concern is kind of alleviated from oopses, out of curiosity.
No, with the previous tenant, I did share, there was like a letter that came out to owners, you know, that said you're in a historic district. And so I did share that with the previous tenant, but, and I probably can pull that letter and share.
We actually produced that letter, I believe, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So, yeah, but we're trying to, I think if you could consider putting some language in your lease, so we're asking commercial buildings to do that, so it's not just gonna fall back on you. You know, that the tenant's aware of it, just like when you bought this property, you had to sign an acknowledgement that it's in a historic district. You can't, you know, say that you weren't aware of it. I think it's helpful, being a landlord myself, that if it's included in the lease, they're culpable as well. Not, it just doesn't fall back on you for when stuff goes wrong or sideways, whether it's by accident or purposefully, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
one of your tenants, things will be, you know, they're going to come to us for signage next, and there's requirements for signage and colors and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you can consider that, I know it's
I think that's a great idea. I actually on this one worked with Jim Sproat of Realty Counseling, but I will after this suggest to him that for these types of commercial leases that there be some
language in there.
Yeah, some language that speaks to the needs. So I'm fully supportive again of this maintaining and promoting the historical significance of the South Side. So
Yeah, and Gene, that's a great idea. As we try to contact property owners or with letters similar to the one that you received, sometimes they come back to us or they're not being shared with the tenants. And we always, you know, our plans are to make sure that the business owners on the first floor are aware of the historic district guidelines, because we've had experiences where the tenants just decide, we're going to take the tile off of here, off of this building, and put something shiny that will attract people to come into my establishment. And the property owner then has been in court. There's a tremendous amount of money being spent in some cases, and it's all done without the knowledge of the property owner. So
yeah,
going to him, and because he does a lot of leases on South Side, that's a great idea to just remind him to remind the tenants that are coming in to East Carson Street that they need to follow the guidelines.
Yeah, no, like I said, I remember sending those guidelines to the previous tenant, the one that was evicted. So I'm sure that she didn't read it, but the current tenant would absolutely, you know, respect that and take that to heart. So I will find the email that I sent previously. It has that. I think I took a picture of the letter, and so I can send it to the current tenant. And I will speak with Jim Sproat about, you know, adding language to ensure that the tenants are respectful and aware of the guidelines.
Okay. So if there is nothing else, just additional comments can be made to Southside Community Council, which would be shared with the property owner. We can be contacted through info@southsidecommunitycouncil.org. So this, as I mentioned, will be presented before the Historic Review Commission. There needs to be 30 days between the meeting before the presentation can be scheduled before the HRC. Since we're running into the holidays, I don't believe there is a Historic Review Commission meeting in December. So probably the earliest would be January, which, you know, will give you enough time to get comments and take care of anything before you go to the Review Commission. And anyone that wants to make public comment can do so by contacting the Historic Review Commission. And Jean, what happens is at the meeting, at the commission meeting, Bob Russ will either be in attendance or he will send written comments to the commission, which will be, they will look at. And then also they receive the information from this meeting when they're making their decision. And they do that right on the spot. Right after the presentation, they will vote to approve what you've presented.
Okay.
And so more information about Southside Community Council can be reached through our website, southsidecommunitycouncil.org. This dam and previous ones are on our YouTube page. And we also have a newsletter that we send out monthly. Our next dam will be November 17th, 2022. So if there is nothing else, we can close this meeting, and it's 6:40, and I think this is the quickest we've ended of a dam. So I do want to thank everyone for attending, and we'll see you next month.
Great. Thanks, Barb.
All
Thanks,
right,
everyone.
thank you.
Hey, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.